Hello everyone, this is Starzina 33 Laura Francesca talking to you guys in Podbean, in Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and other platforms. How is everybody doing tonight after watching the Super Bowl, right? For those that are listening to me around the world, here in the United States, we had this American sport that is played every year. And I'm going to be talking about that. And I'm going to be talking about the astrology also. And storytelling and, just talk about what transpired tonight with the game and also combine it with the astrology. So we begin here talking about the Super Bowl, which was so important. It was the Seahawks versus the Patriots. And I'm glad the Seahawks won, okay? And the reason is because they hardly ever win. And the Patriots, we know they always win every year, right? Or usually when they're always going to to go play at the Super Bowl, and they're always at the playoffs, and so they always win. And I'm drinking here some Bud Light. There was a couple of beers in the fridge, so I just grabbed one, and I have it with ice because I have to be drinking while I'm talking. So what's going on is that these two games here, these two teams were playing against each other. And I really wanted the Seahawks to win, and I'm so glad that they won because they hardly win, There comes a time that, you got to give opportunity to new talent, You need, fresh energy, new meat, just new talent, and so forth. So I'm glad that they won. And this is not their first time they won, okay? I believe it was the second time. But compared to the Patriots, they're always winning, right? And we know because Tom Brady, right? He used to play for the Patriots, and I don't know how many rings he has, right? But I think it was time that we gave a chance to the Seahawks, and I'm so glad they won, right? And there was a lot of bets that were talking about in numerology. And I was just curious. I was looking at, what they were predicting, and they said that the Seahawks were going to win based on numerology. So that was interesting. Also, I didn't really delve into the astrology. This is why I'm doing the podcast right now. But actually, let me look at the chart here. But I had a feeling that the Seahawks were I had a feeling that they were going to win. But I did chime in and say that there could be a possibility that the Patriots could have won. And that is because they have that chaos, unexpected, shocking 5 number, their personal number for this year. And so personal numbers are very important in numerology because that is the number that is transiting this year on a personal level, right? And so, it has to do with your birth date and then the year, and you combine it both, and that's your personal number. And so, it's important for me, I'm going to be a 5, I'm a 4. So it's very aligned with how I've been with the 4 since 2025. So it's been about, grinding and, my work and not giving up, being persistent in my work, and just keeping on going on and on, right? And I honestly, 4 is not my best number. I don't. It rules law and order, so there has to be obedience, and you have to obey, and there's a lot of cops around you as well. That's good if you want protection and so forth. But usually 4s, it is about building, is the builder, and it's very structure. It's a great number for police. But from what I know and what I'm learning in numerology is that 3s don't get along with 4s, okay? And because it's so interesting because everybody has their own perspective when it comes to numerology. They say threes don't get along with four. My theory is that threes don't get along with fours because, first of all, three is the number of creativity, right? And I'm not a three, I'm a 33, a 33 6. Um, but, the three, I get along with threes because I'm a 33, right? It's just a three, but it's double, so it becomes a 33. And it's also the highest influential number there is. Um, so, but getting back to threes, the threes, it's about creativity. Okay, it is about teamwork, right? Usually see like three people or a sort of a team, coming together, and it's all about creativity, ideas, and humor and laughter, and they're always having a good time, right? And they're always optimistic as well. No matter what happens, I know because my dad's a three. No matter what happens, they're optimistic, always gets them out of a bind, always gets them out of a situation, whether unfortunate or not, right? Um, and the four, I feel, it doesn't blend in well with the three because a four is about structure and it is about standards and boundaries and so forth, right? And it's very like military, right? Um, and in a way, it's good because there's protection and so forth. Like if it's a city and is ruled by a four, there's a lot of protection, a lot of police and so forth. But there's also requirement for you to do the work, for you to obey the law, obey the rules, right? And threes don't really obey the rules because, they have to be creative. And to be creative, and this is my theory why they don't get along. I don't know why I'm going in this tangent because I'm not even supposed to talk about this. I'm supposed to go more in the chart right now, but I'll wrap this up real quick. And I feel the reason is that three and fours don't get along because threes are so creative, right? And you can't let anything stifle your creativity as a three, right? And fours stifle that creativity, right? Fours, they have laws and they have rules that you need to follow, right? And to be creative, you can't have rules. And that's something that I learned as I was learning branding and marketing, that to be creative, you can't let anything get in the way. As far as like, well, you can't do it this way. You have to do it this way. Well, that's never worked. So we can't do it. It kind of reminds me of Nikola Tesla, where, he believed in the law of the 369. And I think it's Thomas Jefferson, I believe, or no, it was Edison, Thomas Edison. Uh, he invented the electricity. He came against him because he was practical and he thought Nikola Tesla was too woo. He was too out there. He was too creative. He had too many ideas. They didn't understand where, his ideas were coming from. They thought he was insane, right? That he was not mentally well because of all these ideas. Today, it would be so accepted, right? But back then, it wasn't. It was very traditional. And so that's a four, and so you would have to prove to a four that your idea is good enough, that you're, and that takes a lot of work. I don't know, for me personally, I don't like to convince people, even though I was born to what is it, persuade. I have, for some reason, I have this persuasion way before astrology. um, I was able to persuade. Okay, when I was in junior high, when I was in high school, I was able to sell yearbook ads, right? And I don't know how, honestly. I guess I was really good at talking, and I didn't know marketing back then, okay? I don't even know marketing was invented back then. I don't know. It was like in the late 80s, when I was in junior high. And we were out there selling ads and there was no internet. We were just selling ads to just businesses, knocking on businesses, and trying to sell our yearbook ads. And I just didn't know how to do it. I guess I was just talking to them, And now I amaze myself because I'm like, how did I do that? How were they able to buy, and stuff like that. It's not like, I mean, I wasn't taking my clothes off or nothing like that. You know what I mean? And I don't know, back in junior high days, I didn't find myself too attracted, to tell you the truth. I kind of looked very like athletic, and I didn't feel very feminine, even though I did wear lipstick, and I would try to wear makeup, um, but you know and my dad was very strict. He didn't allow me to wear makeup. He didn't want me to. He's like, no, you're going there to learn not to wear makeup, but anyway, it was, the whole rules and everything, it comes against your creativity, right? So this is why I feel threes and fours don't get along. This is why I feel they didn't get along with Nikola Tesla either, because he was too woo woo. He was too out there, and they wanted some practicality, something real. They didn't believe it was real, and that's why I feel they don't get along. So if you are a three and you're living in a four, you're gonna have to obey the law. You're gonna have to, um, you know, um, live by the rules. Live by the sword. Literally, and or you're gonna be ending going to jail, or, you know, whatever I don't know, whatever it is. Um, but that's why I feel they don't get along there. So anyway, um, let me jump in here. So the reason I talked about numerology, because they were, talking about, in I believe in X, they were doing predictions of who was going to win, the Seahawks or the Patriots, and they went based on numerology, and they said the Seahawks are going to win based on numerology, and they did. But I did feel that the Patriots had a chance to do it, because they had a number of chaos, of the unexpected, of shocks, very Uranus. And I don't know. I don't know, to tell you guys the truth. I mean, I looked at the game and it didn't look too exciting. You know what I mean? I've seen other Super Bowls that have been really exciting, and for some reason I was like, it was kind of blah. To tell you the truth, I don't know. I guess it's just my thought. Um, but maybe because there's so much change that is happening around all of us. We're going through shifts, major, major shifts. Okay, and I'm gonna be talking that more further in other podcasts coming soon, about these major shifts that is happening. In 30 plus years of a new cycle that is entering, for all of us. And, the world is not going to be what it was. Okay. It's going to be so much different. It's like looking back when it was pre COVID. We can't remember that time, right? Because so much has changed ever since, the pandemic happened and everything. And prior to the pandemic, we can't remember what was happening back then. You know what I mean? And so, because we're not living in that era anymore, and so a lot of changes are going to happen. I mean, a lot. Okay. And we have to prepare for that, especially this year. It's an exciting year, but it's also going to be a year that we need to be grounded. We need to be balanced and focus, right? So we can, know where we're going, and know the path that you're going. And it's good to have a blueprint and know where you're going to go, especially with the year of the horse, the fire horse, that's going to enter on the 17th. And I think it's 17th. There's so many dates. This There's a lot going on. I believe, yes, it is. It's the Aquarius new moon, ring of fire eclipse, and at the same time is the year of the horse. Okay, and so that is happening. That's a big whammy, like two in one. And just a lot of things that are going on, a lot of shifts that are going on. And then I believe, well, we still need a couple more weeks for, actually months, for Uranus to enter Gemini, but that's coming up, as we close out Uranus and Taurus. Uranus and Taurus was an innovative time with real estate, with marriages, with love, with a whole lot more people got married, during the last 7, 8 years. A lot of people bought homes or they bought restaurants. A lot of people opened up a business that were working from home. If you really think about, the past 7, 8 years, I would say 8 years, how many people work from home? A whole lot of people. Okay, a whole lot of people. Almost a lot of people. Like, you know, there's still people that work for corporate. There's still people that work for a paycheck and everything. But the majority of people, a lot of them, did quit their jobs and they started something from home, and making money from home or coaching or anything like that. And I know a lot of people that that's their normality to work from home. But I also know other people too that they do, check in for work and get a paycheck, through their work. So yeah, it's a lot of changes, but it was expected for a whole lot more entrepreneurs um, to rise up during Uranus and Taurus, and it's closing up. And so anything that you started during Uranus and Taurus, it's going to grow. Okay, it's going to last for a long time. A good example is a restaurant in downtown Los Angeles and the Plaza Olvera. There's this one famous taquito place, right? They have the famous green sauce, and I love that place. Sometimes I'll go there, not all the time. But when I'm down there in downtown LA, I'll stop by there and just eat some of those taquitos. And they've been in business since 1934. Okay, and that's when Uranus and Taurus just began in the 30s. So that's when they opened up the business, and now um, it's 2026, right? And they're still in business, right? It's from the 30s when Uranus was in Taurus. And so that restaurant, even though the original owners are probably dead, or maybe they passed on or something, but they pass the baton to their children or their grandchildren, and they're still running the business. And 84 years, okay, that happened by running that business, you know, to experience the second Uranus and Taurus, right? Um, and they're still in business, you know. So that's how long it lasts, 84 years. Okay, so the only ones that are going to experience Uranus and Taurus again are going to be those that are like 3 or 4 years old right now, you know, uh, little toddlers, or just children, that are going to experience, hopefully, if they live in their 80s, right? They'll get to experience another Uranus and Taurus, but for us, it's over. We're after it's gone, we're not going to experience Uranus and Taurus anymore. Um, as soon as it jumps into Gemini, it's going to be about people. It's no longer going to be about like authority or real estate or anything like that. It's going to be more about people, connecting with people, connections. And that's a wonderful thing, because when you connect with other people, that's how you come into business. We need people, right? People run businesses. That's why I said corporate and corporations, they don't run businesses. They don't run a brand. It's people. So people make a brand. They'll make your brand. If you're trying to grow your brand, it's not going to be your corporation, or your team. It's going to be the people, right? And that's a wonderful thing with Uranus and Gemini. It's going to be very people oriented, and it's good for like people are just going to want to talk to other people. And I've heard, and this was a kind of weird um, not a weird saying, but it was a weird a statistic. It was a weird statistics that I had heard that millennials, they suffer from anxiety, right? They suffer from anxiety with talking to other people, and I never heard of that before, and I was like, wow, really? I didn't know. I don't know what the factor is with that, but it could be because of the pandemic, and then we got so used to being indoors, and then now having to be outdoors. But with Uranus and Gemini, um, people are just going to want to talk to you. Some people just say, some millennials have just say that they get anxiety because, well, it depends where you live, you know. Some people normally would say, like in Los Angeles, there's stuck up people, like you got to look really good or else they won't say hi to you, the whole celebrity thing. But a lot of celebrities don't live in LA anymore. What, Justin Bieber just sold his house or his mansion and he's going back to Canada or something like that. A lot of celebrities have left Los Angeles, and so now it's more about, connecting with people and just smiling or saying hi to people, or just, a lot of them also, have dogs and they walk their dogs and, and stuff like that. And they could meet other people like that. But it seems like there's a lot of, for coaches is good for, uh, to help other young millennials how to overcome any anxiety and so forth, because it looks like, you know, um, there's some anxiety with that. I don't know where that's coming from, but I I know it comes from Mercury. It comes from the nervous system, right? And Uranus in Gemini is very prone nervous system. Okay, so but the good thing is that a lot of people can approach you, and they would want to talk to you, get to know you, make friends, and so forth. It just depends on the environment you're in. What environment you're in. Luckily, I do live in a town where they are renovating the Port of Los Angeles. They're making a lot of restaurants, and a lot of millennials go there, a lot of influencers, uh, old people as well, young people, dogs, and everything. They're even doing a dog park. And it's an opportunity, for people to just get out there and just talk to other people. And so, luckily for me, it's only a 10-minute walk. So, I don't live too far from there. I don't live too close, but I don't live too far from there, like 10, 15 minutes and I'm there. And so, I like to sometimes walk around there, and just meet people and just talk to people, because a lot of them are tourists. They're just not from around here and so forth. And so it's a good thing. But anyway, let's jump in here because I'm supposed to talk about the Super Bowl here. Um, I wanted to talk about here. Well, let me look at this article here. Okay. It says here, this is from Fox News, I believe. And it says Seattle Seahawks dominate defense, led the way to a Super Bowl LX victory over the New England Patriots. 29-13 on Sunday night. So interesting, the number, right? 29. Saturn and Pisces, we have it at 29. The very last degree, right? 13, I don't know where 13 is transiting, but I don't know. When I seen 29, I was like, oh, Saturn Pisces, right? Seattle is over here on the West Coast, so for us, it's a good thing for us, and it says here, let's see here. It talks about their win, and it says the Seahawks had a good start on the opening drive of the game as Jason Myers kicked through a 33-yard field goal to start the scoring. But it got slow in that department from there. And so it's talking about the Patriots couldn't get anything going against Seattle, NFL's top defense this season, punting on all five of their first half drives. And let's see what else. And then it talks about also, I'm pretty sure, the halftime show. I'm pretty sure you guys seen it. Um, Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show ignites Trump's fury, divides viewers. So there was a division there with that halftime show. Some people liked it, some people didn't. I went to YouTube just to see what people were saying. Anybody that was uploading videos of Bad Bunny, I was looking at them and I was looking at the comments. And whether you were Latino or not, they enjoyed the halftime show. They really said that he pulled it off, and it looked fun. It looked entertaining. They didn't understand what he was singing, but they liked the music and it looked very celebratory. It looked fun, and and Latinos really enjoyed it. They say, yeah, it was so much fun, and we enjoyed looking at it and everything. And so it was more than just fun. Um, it was culture, um, especially, promoting his Puerto Rican country. And but I'm glad that he talked about all the countries, not just Puerto Rico. He included Mexico on there. And, you know, I think if he wouldn't have included the Mexico, flag, because he was naming all these flags, that we were all Latinos, right? Whether we're Hispanic, Latinos, Mexicans, we all, contribute to one another, the Latino GDP, in the United States, which is 4.1 trillion, by the way, and it's really large. And together we are bigger, So I'm just glad he did include Mexico on there. And, but he talked about New York, there's a lot of Puerto Ricans in New York as well. And it was a fun entertainment. I liked it, Um, you know, I just, I was in there in my living room dancing, but I think it was pretty entertaining. There was a lot of things going on at that time, okay, in my house that I'm not going to talk about, but things were popping up unexpectedly, and I couldn't. I was like, oh, great, not during the halftime show. And so, there was a lot of things going on like that, but I'm glad that got resolved. So that's what's happening there. So the score was 29-13. So that's interesting, right? Um, Now let's go into the chart here. When they won, because I looked at the clock, okay, it was about 7:30, okay, when they announced that they won. And at that time, okay, I casted the chart here for that time. Jupiter was in Cancer, okay, in the 10th house of elevation. And so, which is so interesting because it was conjunct Israel at that time. This asteroid of Israel, which is, it could be also fall into beliefs, okay? Because Jupiter also is about beliefs. It's how you feel, what you believe in, right? And in the sign of Cancer, at 16 degrees of ancestors, of families, of real estate, love, right? And it was making wonderful trines, okay, with Pisces. And here we have Mercury in Pisces. It just entered, okay. And we have Pallas also, which is this asteroid about strategy in the sign of Pisces. We have the North Node in Pisces, which is fate, destiny, okay. And it's interesting because when you think Seahawks, the sea, right? Very Piscean, very ocean like. And so I was like, the irony of that, right? Also, Banks enter Pisces, okay? So when the asteroid of Banks that rules money, it rules banking loans, it rules wealth, okay? Contracts and so forth in the sign of Pisces. And so all of that was making a trine to Jupiter. It was aligned in harmony, okay, in the sixth house of your local community, in the sixth house of putting the work in the sixth house of your health as well, okay. And so, so that's a wonderful thing there of what Jupiter is doing there with Pisces. Another thing too is, let me check here. It was also trining the moon in Scorpio, okay, exactly at 16 degrees, okay, of ancestry, real estate, love, all of that. It is a degree of Cancer, okay, so it rules families. And it was in harmony, you know. This wind was in harmony. I'm pretty sure, they have families and their families were out there as well. Their kids were out there as well, and so forth. And so it was very much aligned here, with the moon in Scorpio and Jupiter in Cancer. They're both water signs. So they were getting along very, very well. And where the moon at that time when they won, it was in, the moon was in Scorpio in the third house of communication. Okay. And the motto there is, I think. Okay, so it governs anything with local environment, where you live, um, short journeys, travel, any type of communication, okay, including speaking, writing, learning languages, and so forth. Um, so that is what was going on there. And I believe there was in, let me check here. Um, well, I don't, let me click on okay. There is, well, this is opposing here full is in Capricorn, which has to do with business. Um, but I don't see really I don't see it as a big deal or anything like that. Because it's just Jupiter, Jupiter is luck, not transformation, that's Pluto. Uh, well, it could form into transformation, you know what I mean? Because Jupiter, changes things, what you believe in, you transform it into actuality, it's like manifestation. It is manifestation Jupiter, and but because it is opposing here, full is in Capricorn, that has to do with business. I'm not going to go more into that. I didn't really want to talk about that one, but yeah. So there is also a challenge here uh, between Jupiter and Ceres. Okay, and Ceres has to do with land. It has to do with um, it has to do with corn. It has to do with wheat. It has to do with nurturing anything you eat. Okay. Um, anything healthy in the sign of Aries. It could be spicy food as well. Um, at 17 degrees of Leo. Okay, so there's a lot of fire here with the Ceres in the land, and it's challenging Jupiter. Okay, and it is Ceres in Aries is in the eighth house of transformation. So this is about joint contracts. Okay, making a challenge to Jupiter. Okay, um, I mean the motto here is we have. Okay, so this governs anything to do with contracts. Okay, um, deep research, hidden assets, anything like that. Occult matters as well. And that is where something to do with land, something to do most likely with real estate, um, anything like that in the degree of Leo. So it could be celebrities. That's why I say it's so interesting that I think it was, I don't know if it was today, I think it was today when I found out that Justin Bieber has sold his home. So it could be something like that, because, Leo rules celebrities. So something about land, okay, in the eighth house of joint finances, contracts. And there's a challenge there with Jupiter. And I don't really see it like a big challenge because anything challenging Jupiter is not really a challenge. For me, it could be just over the top. Okay. It's like something that just goes over the top regarding land. Okay. I could name some specifics and some examples, but I'm not going to do that. But there could be just like a recent investment. Um, I could go really deep on this, but it could be like a recent investment, and it was like maybe it's over the top, and you're gonna have to rethink about it, to see if there really is funds. Oh, let me drink here. My throat is getting dry. To see if there's really funds to cover it, and stuff like that. And, not to get over your head, over, big properties, big contracts. We're talking about like big, like $1 billion stuff, or multi-million dollar stuff. And just kind of know what you're signing. And there could be something that is just over the top. Okay. Things that can come up like that. Okay. So, especially, as we're going to enter Mercury retrograde in Pisces. So there's going to be a lot of having to freeze. Excuse me, I'm already, it's because I'm drinking some beer, but I'm not drunk or nothing, okay? Um, I'm just thirsty. Mm. Um, it's something about, we might have to, you know, pause or freeze um, a certain idea to move forward with the Mercury retrograde, especially because it's in the sign of Pisces and things can get a little bit foggy there. It's not the best, okay? And having to revisit anything that we signed, land or anything like that, um, that has to do with the water, okay? And so, a lot of people, there's been a lot of, what's going on right now, a lot of with real estate, uh, a lot of people having to get lawyers, like they messed up their house, they didn't do it right, or they find out, oh, now this land, and a lot of these houses that are just falling, in different areas near the water, right? And so I don't know if it's the land is too weak or something like that, and that could be because it's in Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars, okay? And Mars is fire. So the earth is pretty much getting really hot and really heated and is breaking apart, and is bringing these houses down in the ocean, or there's something with property, okay? There's something like that you might have to research and get some assistance or get a lawyer or something like that. um so there's been a lot of that even in Mexico. Okay, they buy the houses and then something's wrong with it, or they finds out that they owe more than what they should, and stuff like that. So right now, with Mercury retrograde in Pisces, you got to really look at the contract, hire a lawyer to, tell you what you're signing and so forth, um, and so forth. Just do your research, because Mercury retrogrades, it's something that you have to go back to the drawing table, you know, and you probably missed something or you didn't, it's not a time really to make really big purchases. Um, but if you do, then just kind of hire a lawyer, not kind of, but do hire a lawyer, so they can pinpoint and show you what you're signing and what, just to be on the safe side, um, and then do your purchase, right? But there's something about land. There's something that over the top, especially because Jupiter is in Cancer and it rules the ocean. So there's something about the ocean and something about land breaking, okay? So just pay attention to that. I don't know why I delved into that because I'm not even really supposed to talk about that because that's not has nothing to do with the NFL, but it will pop up here. So if I see it, I will talk about it. So basically, that's it. So what was happening during the win of the Seahawks, which is so interesting, right? And then I delved into the sea and the real estate. But what was happening with the Seahawks, and Jupiter was blessing them, okay, in the 10th house of elevation, of status, of fame, right? And it was a blessing because it is conjunct Israel. Okay, so there's a blessing here from God, and making these trines here. Okay, I did say that it was. I did see like just a bunch of trines, just if you, a bunch of triangles in the chart, and I think I talked about it yesterday, where I seen the 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 Solomon seal, the um, what is it called, the David it must be the beer or something. I don't know. What is it? The David well, the Solomon seal, the David I cannot believe I forgot. Oh my gosh. I better stop drinking. Anyway, it's two triangles, and they're one is upright and the other one is the other, and it forms a star. Oh, the Star of David. Duh, Laura. Okay. And the way that I say that is, it must be the beer. Or I'm just tired. Because I had to do something came up today that was very tiring. Um, well, not too tiring, but I had to do something. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to put like my information, my family out there and stuff like that. I'm not trying to do that. Trying to be more private, but something unexpected happened, right? And I had to, jump on it and get on it right away. And so I rescued a family member today. And I had to be the hero today. So I'm a little bit tired, but it's what's expected. So, always make sure you have your running shoes on and, roll up your sleeves when, you're called to be a leader and either protect or save or rescue, somebody near, a family member or a neighbor. Or anything like that. And so, yeah. So, anyway, so this is what's going on. I just want to talk a little bit about, the blessing here with Jupiter in the 10th house of status, right? Of having to take action regarding a family member. And like I said, a situation happened, right? Something to do with family. And, it was in harmony here with Pisces and also with the moon in Scorpio, okay, of having to take action. And which is interesting here because let me just look at one more. Um, let's see, Jupiter. Um, okay, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say more than that. So yeah, so that is what's happening here for episode number, I think it's 7. Episode 7 here at Podbean. I'm trying to get in the flow because honestly, like ever since I I slowed down, or I don't know, I had like this little slow peak, and then I'm just jumping back in there. But I don't know, I just kind of I feel like I don't know, like something's holding me back, you know what I mean, from talking. And I could feel it in my body, because, you know, I have a lot to say, but there's something that's kind of like holding me back, and I don't know what it is. But, I'm just going to pray to God about it because um, I speak truths, and that's just what I do. I'm an astrologer, right? And I talk about things that I see, but I won't talk about everything I see in the wheel. That will take me forever. And, that needs to get paid. So right now I'm just starting out, and, but I'm just starting out in the podcast. So I'm just trying to grow it and so forth. But hope everybody's having a great day. And, don't forget to like it, subscribe, and share with your friends if you feel that they can enjoy the podcast with predictions. And I also do them in Spanish, okay? It's called Astroclima. And so I will share them. I normally post them on Facebook and X. And I'm going to start posting some on Instagram and TikTok. And they automatically post to YouTube, okay? So I do have a channel there in YouTube that they automatically go to as well. And again, you can listen in on Spotify and at the Astroweather Celestial Clockwork. And they will also pop up there, and also in Apple and Amazon Music and so forth. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day. And like I said, I just wanted to share with you guys what was going on with the Seahawks and the blessing that they received today, right? With that Jupiter in the 10th house of elevation, making these wonderful trines, with the water, North Node Pisces. There's a lot of Pisces going on. The Mercury just jumped in there. The North Node is in there. Saturn is still in there. It's about to leave. But there's a lot of Pisces. Banks entered Pisces, and then we got Palace of Strategy in Pisces. So a lot of spirituality there. So expect the hand of God. Expect miracles to happen. If unexpected things happen, understand that God is there with you, and you can always pray to God. You can always open the Bible, especially right now with the frequencies that we have a lot of Pisces there, okay? And so, especially with communication, okay? Mercury and Pisces, you connect with God. Like, you hear God, you connect with God. I was born with Mercury and Pisces in retrograde to top it off. So this has to do with the past, okay? Like the Renaissance past, like and I have it at 17 degrees of Leo. So it has to do with like royals, celebrities that have passed on. This is why I hear a lot of things, and also I get dreams, okay? Like I've had dreams of um I have had dreams of Princess Diana, okay? Um, and also I've had dreams of Queen Elizabeth when she was alive. And I don't know, they just, they're all royals. So it's just the astrology. But it's interesting, but Mercury and Pisces, they have a connection with God, you know, with this communication. It's so easy to connect, you know, anybody can connect with God. But if you are born with Mercury in Pisces, for the whole collective, when Mercury's in Pisces, anybody is very easy to tap into God and get your prayers answered and stuff. But if you are born with Mercury in Pisces, like I am, I have this connection with God of prayer, meditation, um, you know, and downloads from God and so forth, intuition, like, oh, I knew that was God, and so forth. And so anyway, I'm gonna end it here before I just keep blabbing more. I will talk to you guys on the next episode. Good night.